January 1915. A wooden ship called Endurance has stopped moving. Not because the crew wanted it to, but because the sea itself froze around them. 28 men, trapped on the ice. Nearest human settlement, 1,200 kilometers away. And every single one of them made it home alive. This is the most impossible survival story in the history of human exploration. Endurance, a story of impossible survival. Ernest Shackleton was a British explorer, and by 1914, already a legend. He'd been to Antarctica twice. In 1909, he got within 180 kilometers of the South Pole and turned back. People asked why. He said, "A live donkey is better than a dead lion." But by 1914, the South Pole had already been conquered by Amundsen, so Shackleton needed a new, impossible thing. Crossing the entire Antarctic continent on foot, 2,900 kilometers. Nobody had even tried. Funding it wasn't easy. He pitched the government, private donors, gave lectures, sold the story before it happened. Then, World War I broke out. He offered his entire expedition to the Navy. Churchill's response came back in 2 words. Proceed, proceed. For crew, he put out an ad. Small wages, bitter cold, constant danger, safe return doubtful. Would you have signed up for this mission? Or would you have stayed home and fought in World War I instead? Let me know in the comments below. 5,000 men applied. He interviewed them himself, 5 minutes each, hired on gut feeling, character over credentials. He was building a team for pressure nobody could imagine yet. They sailed in December 1914. The ship was named Endurance, after the family motto, "By endurance we conquer." Nobody knew yet how much they'd need it. The Weddell Sea was unusually frozen that year. They pushed through pack ice for weeks, and in January 1915 it closed in completely, like a bug in amber. For 10 months they drifted, played football on the ice, did science, kept busy. Shackleton was obsessed with morale. No panic, no drama, just wait. Then, in October 1915, the ice started squeezing the ship. Wooden beams cracking under millions of tons of pressure. Water pouring in. Shackleton gave the order nobody wanted to hear. Abandon ship. They stood on the ice and watched Endurance sink. Their home for a year. Gone. They'd saved 3 small lifeboats before she went down. 3 boats, 28 men. Antarctica. 5 more months on drifting ice, not land, a floating sheet of frozen ocean. Penguin and seal meat, tents, -30. Shackleton walked among his men every single day. If someone was losing hope, he'd make sure they shared a tent with the optimists. Morale was the most important resource they had. April 1916, ice breaking up. They launched into the Southern Ocean, 7 brutal days in the roughest water on Earth. Waves the size of buildings. Then they spotted land. Elephant Island. Tiny, remote, uninhabited. First solid ground in 497 days. Men dropped to their knees. One just started collecting rocks in a daze. But nobody knew they were there. No shipping routes, no rescue coming. It was a different kind of trap. Shackleton took the best boat, 7 meters long, picked 5 men and announced their destination. South Georgia Island, 1,300 kilometers away, across the Drake Passage, the most violent stretch of ocean on Earth. No GPS, no radio, navigation by stars, when they could see them, which was almost never. 16 days, hurricane winds, waves experienced sailors said they'd never seen anything like. They made it, but landed on the wrong side of the island. The whaling station was across an uncharted mountain range, no trails, no maps, no equipment. Shackleton took 2 men and walked 36 hours straight, glaciers, peaks, darkness, with crampons made from screws pulled off the lifeboat. Modern detail: those same mountains were first officially crossed in 1955 by professional alpinists with proper gear. They said it was one of the hardest things they'd ever done. Shackleton did it in the dark, in 1916, to save his men. He walked into the whaling station at Stromness on May 20th, 1916. The manager recognized something wild in his eyes before he recognized the man. Rescue took 4 attempts. 4 times the ice turned the ship back. Finally, August 30th, 1916, a ship broke through. All 22 men on Elephant Island were alive. Nearly 2 years. Lost their ship, drifted on ice, crossed the world's deadliest ocean in a lifeboat, climbed an uncharted mountain range. Not one person died. Today, Shackleton is studied at Harvard Business School and used by NASA to train astronauts. Because what he did wasn't just survival, it was leadership under conditions nobody had ever faced. He kept 27 people psychologically intact for 2 years, with no rescue and no guarantee anything would work. That's either genius or the most stubborn refusal to quit in human history, probably both. But here's what I'll leave you with. After all of this, Shackleton didn't stop. A few years later, he went back to Antarctica, one more expedition, and this time, he didn't make it home. That's a story for another video. Subscribe, and I'll see you there.